Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrī Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's class. It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 7, beginning from text 7. We're very fortunate this morning to have His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu from ISKCON Atlanta to give a class. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All
Hare
glories to
Krishna,
Śrī
Prabhu.
Prabhupada.
Glory Srila Prabhupada.
It's all yours.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Mo Mahavanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gojase Namaha. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishwadaya Krishna Pastai Bhutalation Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today we're continue reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And our topic today will be the ecstasy of service, the mood of service, which is emphasized in this and a few other texts that we may look at. It's a very, very important topic. Let me get my screen correct here. And we'll find out that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu relished this mood of service. Therefore, we should also try to understand how important the service attitude is. So the first text is text number 7. First, Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 7. Svayaṁ bhagavān Krishna ekale īśvara advitīya nandātmaja rasika-śekhara. Svayaṁ bhagavān Krishna ekale īśvara advitīya nandātmaja rasika-śekhara. Svayaṁ bhagavān Krishna ekale īśvara advitīya nandātmaja rasika-śekhara. Next.
Svayaṁ bhagavān Krishna ekale īśvara advitīya nandātmaja rasika-śekhara. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
svayaṁ bhagavān Krishna ekale īśvara advitīya nandātmaja rasika-śekhara.
Haribo. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Swayam
Krishna.
Bhagwan Krishna ekale īśvara advitīya nandātmaja rasika-śekhara. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone? Okay. Word for word. Swayam, himself, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Lord Krishna, ekale, the only one, īśvara, the Supreme Controller, advitīya, without a second, nandātmaja, appeared as the son of Mahārāja Nanda, rasika, the most mellow, śekhara, summit. Translation. Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, the Supreme Controller. No one is greater than or equal to Śrī Kṛṣṇa, yet he appears as the son of Mahārāja Nanda. Purport. In this verse, Kaviraj Goswami gives an accurate description of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by stating that although no one is equal to or greater than him, and he is a reservoir of all spiritual pleasure, he nevertheless appears as a son of Mahārāja Nanda and Yashoda. So I'm going to read a little bit more, and then we'll come back and discuss. Text 8, Rasadi Vilasi Vrajalalana Nagara Arajata Sabadeka Tanra Parikar. Translation. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the supreme enjoyer in the rasa dance. He is the leader of the damsels of Braja, and all others are simply his associates. Purport. The word Rasadi Vilasi, the enjoyer of the rasa dance, is very important. The rasa dance can be enjoyed only by Śrī Kṛṣṇa because he is the supreme leader and chief of the damsels of Vrindavan. All other devotees are his associates. Although no one can compare with Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are many unscrupulous rascals who imitate the rasa dance of Śrī Kṛṣṇa. They are Mayavadis, and people should be wary of them. The rasa dance can be performed only by Śrī Kṛṣṇa, no one else. Text 9. Se Krishna avatirna Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Se parikar gana sange sabadhanya. The self-same Lord Krishna advented himself as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all his eternal associates, who are also equally glorious. Text number 10. Ekala īśvara tattva Chaitanya īśvara bhakta bhavamaya tanra sruda kalevara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Controller, the one personality of Godhead, has ecstatically become a devotee, yet his body is transcendental and not materially tinged. Purport. There are different tattvas or truths including Isha Tattva, Jiva Tattva, and Shakti Tattva. Isha Tattva refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is the supreme living force. In the Katha Upanishad, it is said, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme eternal and the supreme living force. The living entities are also eternal and are also living forces, but they are very minute in quantity, whereas the Supreme Lord is the supreme living force and the supreme eternal. The supreme eternal never accepts a body of a temporary material nature, whereas the living entities who are part and parcel of the supreme eternal are prone to do so. Thus, according to the Vedic mantras, the Supreme Lord is the supreme master of innumerable living entities. The Mayavadi philosophers, however, try to equate the minute living entities with the supreme living entity because they recognize no distinctions between them. Their philosophy is called Advaitavada, or monism. Factually, however, there is a distinction. This verse is especially meant to impart to the Mayavadi philosopher the understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Controller. The Supreme Controller of the Personality of Godhead is Krishna himself, but as a transcendental pastime, he has accepted the form of a devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, comes to this planet exactly like a human being, some rascals consider him to be one of the ordinary humans. One who thinks in that mistaken way is described as mudha, or foolish. Therefore, one should not foolishly consider Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be an ordinary human being. He has accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, but he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there have been many imitation incarnations of Krishna who cannot understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself and not an ordinary human being. Less intelligent men create their own gods by advertising a human being as God. This is their mistake. Therefore, hear the words Tandra, Shuddha, Kalevara, warn that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body is not material, but purely spiritual. One should not, therefore, accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an ordinary devotee, although he has assumed the form of a devotee. Yet one must certainly know that although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, one should not misunderstand his pastimes and place him in exactly the same position as Krishna. It is for this reason only that when Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was addressed as Krishna or Vishnu, he blocked his ears, not wanting to hear himself addressed as Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a class of devotees called Gauranga Nagari, who stage plays of Krishna's pastimes using a vigraha, or form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a mistake that is technically called rasa basa. While Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to enjoy as a devotee, one should not disturb him by addressing him as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Agyanatimiranda Sajjananjanan Salakaya Chakshu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadishtarani. So this discussion today, what we're reading here, specifically about the mood of a devotee, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, came to relish that mood. Of course, he wanted to relish the feelings of Radharani when she sees him or deals with Krishna. There's a certain feeling that she has that no one else has. And Krishna wanted to feel that. He wanted to experience what it is that Radharani is feeling, because he himself, as Supreme Personality of Godhead, is complete, absolutely complete. Om Purnam Purnadadati Purnamidam. He's actually complete. He doesn't need anything. He's not missing anything. But that one thing he wanted to experience, which philosophically, transcendentally, he had not experienced, although God knows everything. God has everything. But in this case, he wanted to taste that nectar. So in the case of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to experience the mood of a devotee. Everyone's coming to God, oh, my dear Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. In many cases, give me this, give me that. But in the case of a devotee is not asking anything from the Lord. So the Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, wants to experience that mood of a devotee. Now, the other point that I wanted to look at is the first line of the verse number 7, Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure. Vishnu Guru, maybe you can help me on this. As far as I know, this verse, Srila Prabhupada used this in his Krishna reservoir of pleasure. I'm trying to remember if this is the actual verse, but the svayaṁ bhagavān Krishna ekale īśvara. So it begins by saying, Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure. And by the way, that's the first book that I ever received in Krishna consciousness. Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure. But upon receiving it, I had no idea what it meant, because we didn't see God, at least in my growing up, we didn't consider God as someone enjoying some pleasure. God is depicted as the worker, creating the universe within 6 days of creation and so on and so forth. As I was discussing with Vishnu Guru Prabhu yesterday, that who was there to actually document this creation of the Lord? Because the Bible shows in the first chapter, Genesis, step by step how God created. But who actually documented that? Who was there to see that? So people have a limited understanding of God at best. They don't understand God in the format of being the supreme enjoyer, because we're all trying to enjoy ourselves. We're asking God, and Srila Prabhupada points this out so many times, coming to God, please give us our daily bread. That's a very classic Christian prayer. Oh Lord, give us our daily bread. As if God is not, as our Father, concerned about our daily bread. He's providing food for everyone. Srila Prabhupada explains that there's food for everyone. There's enough for everyone. And he gave the example of the gorilla. He said one thing's food for another person, that's food for another person. But he said for the gorillas in Africa, they eat one fruit. And Srila Prabhupada described this fruit as being harder than the iron bullet. And then he went on to describe that an iron bullet, you can push it down, you can make a little dent by a certain force. But he said this particular fruit in the jungles of Africa is harder than the iron bullet. But then he said, but for the gorilla, he eats that fruit like peanuts. And all the devotees were laughing. Just imagine. So God has provided food for everyone. But the mismanagement is the problem. We don't have to ask God, or we don't have to ask Krishna, Krishna, please give me this or give me that. Of course, it's better than not. It's better to approach the Lord than not to approach the Lord. We may have no desires, or we may have all desires. Akama sarva kamova, moksha kama udariti, tibrena bhakti jogena, jajeta purushampara. Whether we have all desires or no desires, better we approach Krishna. But in our preaching, we try to encourage people to see Krishna, God, as the supreme enjoyer. Bhoktaram jagatapasam sarvaloka maheswaram, suridam sarvabhutanam, gatam man shantam richiti. That's the peace formula. He's a supreme bhokta. He's enjoying all the sacrifices, everything. But he wanted to be in the mood of the servant. My main point here today, which I won't take too much time, is that the uncomfortable feeling that all of us have, we've all experienced it. You know, we try to enjoy something and we enjoy it for a certain amount of time, and then we get bored, therefore we get something new, something new, something new, something new. Every day, every year, new things are coming out because The advertisers, the business people know that you're going to get bored, but they don't know the reason. I'm sure Vishnu Prabhu in his profession can comment on how people are frustrated, but they're not sure why they're frustrated. They don't know. My simple, humble little assumption is that because we're not the enjoyer. And it's an uncomfortable position to try to be the enjoyer because it's not our natural position. It's not. So then after a certain time, we don't feel the so-called happiness from that material things. All material things are temporarily manifest. It's like chewing the chewed, or the example given of the sugar cane. You know, you squeeze all the sweetness out and you keep trying to get sweetness from it. There's no sweetness. There's only limited sweetness in the material world. So conducting ourselves in the mood of the enjoyer is a false position and guaranteed to lead to frustration. Absolutely. Material world is temporary, full of misery, dukkhalayam shasvatam, and we strive to enjoy in the position of the enjoyer, and it doesn't work. So Lord Chaitanya, and here's the other side of that, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, same as Krishna, but he doesn't want to be addressed as Krishna. He wants to be in that mood of servant, which indicates that mood of servant is a higher platform. Of course, being with Krishna in the spiritual world, the position of the gopis, the cowherd boys, all these wonderful positions of being in association with Krishna. But Krishna wants to taste that nectar of being a servant, again, which indicates that that's a very high platform. So why is it that sometimes people, including ourselves as devotees, we hesitate to dive into the concept of service? Sometimes, foolishly, we want to be served. It's okay. Of course, for one devotee to serve another devotee is very nice. Very, very nice. But how should we meditate? How should we think? And if we're feeling, now, I don't want to call it speculation on my part, but this is my simple conclusion. We may be in that position where others are glorifying us. And if we're making advancement in Krishna consciousness, again, this is my transcendental observation, we begin to feel uncomfortable being respected, in some cases, worshipped. But if we don't feel uncomfortable, it may indicate that we're not attentive in our devotional service. Because as we make advancement in devotional service, we should become more and more humble. Trinadapisa nichena, tarodapisa istana. And that humility, which I've said so many times, and like a broken record, but that humility described in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, verses 8 through 12, means not being anxious for the satisfaction of being honored by others, which is very, very important. So if we feel that tendency to want to be honored by others, we have to be very careful. We have to really go back to the basics of our Krishna consciousness, because as we make advancement, we should become more and more of a servant. And again, we should feel more and more uncomfortable being placed in the position of the served. Again, that's my simple understanding of that. And I'm sure others have opinions on that as well. So this platform that Lord Chaitanya is manifesting as a servant, again, indicates that service is very important. And serving the devotee is very, very important. I was looking at the Bhagavatam this morning, and first canto, second chapter. Verse number 16, Sushusho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi, Shan Mahat Sevaya Vipra, Punyatirtha Nasevanat. And the translation, and I'm only going to read the last part of the purport. It's a little bit long. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. And Prabhupada begins, the conditioned life of a living being is caused by his revolting against the Lord. And there are men called devas or godly living beings, and there are men called asuras or demons who are against the authority of the Supreme Lord. So further down it says, the servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. Such servants of God are called Mahatmas or Tirthas, and they preach according to the particular time and place. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. They never tolerate being called God. So that's that uncomfortable feeling. And Lord Chaitanya also, Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he demonstrated that uncomfortable feeling of being called the Supreme or being called God, even though he's God himself. So what does that mean to us? We're just tiny little jivas. So if someone exalts us into a very high position, we should be very careful. We can appreciate if a devotee says, Prabhu, you're this and you're that. You can simply say thank you and fold your hands and go on with your life. But we should not internalize that, thinking ourselves to be the enjoyer, to be the center of attention. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. So did Prabhupada not do that? Of course he did that. How did he do it? Well, he did it by exhibiting the mood of service himself. You know, we all know how Srila Prabhupada in the beginning, because there were no qualified devotees, he would do the cooking, he would do the cleaning, he would do the serving, he would do the preaching, he would do the Sankirtan, Harinam. He did it all, which is all service. Sometimes I hear devotees say, you know, please correct me if I'm wrong, that my service or this devotee's service is simply to give class. And I think that sounds good on the surface, but I'm not sure. I'm just not sure if that should be our goal, just always be giving class. It's nice. But there are other services, and Prabhupada said it, there's so many services. Sometimes the devotee is cooking, sometimes the devotee is cleaning, sometimes the devotee is shopping, sometimes the devotee is paying bills, sometimes the devotee, on and on and on and on. So it's not like just one thing. But so we have to teach people the importance of serving by doing it ourselves. And in one place, I believe in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya says that one should practice before beginning to preach what you're going to preach. And then we have to be careful what we preach. Listen to this again. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. Serve the Lord in so many different ways. And again, Srila Prabhupada demonstrated that repeatedly throughout his time in ISKCON and before. So in ISKCON, we saw, it's documented how Prabhupada focused on service. They never tolerate being called God. Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was God himself, according to the indication of the revealed scriptures, but he played the part of a devotee. People who knew him to be God addressed him as God, but he used to block his ears with his hands and chant the name of Vishnu. He strongly protested against being called God, although undoubtedly he was God himself. The Lord behaves so to warn us against unscrupulous men who take pleasure in being addressed as God. Of course, within the Association of Devotees, we have some very exalted devotees by their nature, by their activities, and also by their position. We were just remembering our dear godbrother Charu Prabhu from Spanish Fork, Utah. And I was very struck by an article that was put out by a church in Utah about him. Because as most of us know, he had a lot of support from the Mormon church and other spiritual leaders. So they said that he was such a person that when he came into any assembly, he brought the joy and happiness with him, and everyone felt enlivened by that. So such a devotee we glorify, but generally devotees who are really making advancement are not comfortable with such glorification. They want everyone to realize our position is to serve the Supreme Lord. I am not the center. So they, by their activity, by their words, by their actions, they guide people to serve. Now, we have our spiritual master. Of course, we have Srila Prabhupada. And I say we have because he's not gone. He's still here. He lives on in his teachings. As he said when he was in Atlanta about the words of the spiritual master, Vani and Vapu. He said the words are more important than the Vapu, the form of the spiritual master. So Prabhupada's words are still here. We can have his association anytime we want. Simply plug into his writings, plug into his lectures. As I've said 100,000 times, listen to Prabhupada every day. Even if you have a current spiritual master, that's fine. And even if you love other devotees who give lectures, fine. But don't deprive yourself of Srila Prabhupada. He's right there. Many devotees said, I wish I was back there in the old days with Prabhupada. And you're here with him now, but maybe we're not taking advantage. So the Lord behaves so to warn us against unscrupulous men who take pleasure in being addressed as God. And then finally he says, the servants of God come to propagate God consciousness. And an intelligent people should cooperate with them in every respect. By serving the servant of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. The Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because such servants risk everything for the service of the Lord, and so are very dear to the Lord. The Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita 1869 that no one is dearer to him than one who risks everything to preach his glory. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants. And thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of the Lord. So that's a very interesting sentence, which I reflect on a lot. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants. And thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of the Lord. You have to be qualified to hear the glories of the Lord. We have access to reading about the glories of the Lord from many sources. First and foremost, Srila Prabhupada's books. First and foremost, at least in my mind, undoubtedly. And then there are other literatures by acharyas, and devotees are writing many different books. So to get that urge to hear the glories of the Lord, one must be qualified. So that qualification is serving the servants of the Lord. And then the next verse 17, Shrinvata Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Ridyanta Sto Yabhadrani, Vidunoti Suritsatam. Śrī Kṛṣṇa, personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma supersoul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted, who have developed the urge to hear, which comes from serving the devotees who are free from vice. How important it is to find and associate with devotees who are absolutely committed, as I say, number one, to Srila Prabhupada. Again, that may be just my way of thinking, but that's what I feel. Number one, dedicated, finding devotees who are dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. You have to be careful when you find devotees who are dedicated, not first to Srila Prabhupada, but to some other source. I'm not trying to be critical, it's just observations. In other words, if your dedication is to, quote unquote, previous acharyas and other books by different devotees before your dedication to Prabhupada, I think, sometimes they say, if you say, I think you should go in the closet, but I feel that that's not the proper way to do it. I've had the great fortune of being a Bhakta director, training devotees in Krishna consciousness, and specifically trained by Dhanavir Maharaj how to do that. And the first thing we do is teach them about Prabhupada. Without understanding Srila Prabhupada, you cannot understand what is a real devotee. He was the perfect devotee. So of course you have to serve him, but someone said, well, Prabhupada's not here. I need someone physically to serve. Prabhupada is here. How do I serve Prabhupada when he's not physically here? You serve by hearing. You show respect to Srila Prabhupada by listening to him as many times as you can in the course of a day, not once a week, not once every now and then. I ask devotees sometimes, when the last time you heard Srila Prabhupada's lecture? Some people said they haven't heard a single one. They're so busy hearing other people's lectures. How do you know what Balabhadra says is correct if you don't listen to Srila Prabhupada or Vishnugadar Prabhu or any one of us, Parikshit Prabhu? Our dedication is to Srila Prabhupada. And I love when I hear devotees talk about Srila Prabhupada. I don't mean to put Vishnugadar Prabhu on the spot, but he has such a deep remembrance of Srila Prabhupada from the times in New York and things like that. So wonderful to hear the glories of Srila Prabhupada. So we should find those devotees, not rejecting other devotees, but find those devotees whose qualities we want to imbibe. We want those qualities. And we want especially to develop the desire to hear Krishna's message. See, Krishna is saying in that verse, simply by having the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard. So that urge comes from associating and serving the devotees who are free from all vice. You see, back again to that verse. Shushusho Shodadanasya. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So, as we're trying to make progress, or as we're making progress in devotional service, we need to be able to see how we're making progress. It's so nice again in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verses 8 through 12, Srila Prabhupada actually makes a statement there. I should share it with you. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verses 8 through 12. Okay. And Srila Prabhupada says so clearly here in the purport, in the very beginning of the purport, bear with me a little bit. So he says, as for knowledge outlined here, the items may be analyzed as follows. Humility, again, means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. Then at the end, he says, as for actual advancement, and I would assume that all of us want to make actual advancement. Raise your hand or say amen, say Haribol if you agree. We all want to make advancement.
Haribol.
Haribol. One should have a test. Now, this is interesting. As for actual advancement in spiritual science, one should have a test to see how far he's progressing. He can judge by these items. The items are these, chapter 13, verses 8 through 12. These are the items. And they're interesting. Humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, and on and on and on. I think 20 or 21 qualities. And Prabhupada's so clearly saying, you should have a test. See how you're doing. He can judge by these items. Individually, you can judge yourself. You can see how you're doing, but don't speculate on it. Like devotees sometimes give definitions of humility, which I don't know where they get them from. Maybe they got them from the dictionary, but I prefer Prabhupada's definition, which is so amazing. Not being anxious for the satisfaction of being honored by others ties into what we're discussing from our verse today, or verses today from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Humility, mood of a servant, not looking to be honored. Lord Chaitanya did not want to be called God. He would cover his ears if someone said it. I can't remember who I was talking to the other day, but we were talking about how people who are not trained in Krishna conscious etiquette, they call us who speak or preach sometimes in different situations, they will say Guruji. Like they look at me and say, they don't say Balabhadra, they say Guruji, can you this, that, and the other. And depending on the relationship with that person, I try to guide them that I'm not that. I'm the servant of Srila Prabhupada. Now, even if you are a guru, who are you? You should be a servant of Srila Prabhupada, number one. Of course, gurus have to accept respect from the disciples, which is important, but never to forget that I'm the servant of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is the servant of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and it goes all the way back to being the servant of Krishna. I don't claim to be a servant of Krishna. I claim to be a servant of Srila Prabhupada and a servant of the followers of Srila Prabhupada, sincere or even insincere. It doesn't matter to me. They may be on the, highest, strictest level, or they just may be a devotee who's quote unquote a little bit off color. But still, the joy of serving, I am not going to deprive myself of that, knowing that the Supreme Lord wants to taste that. Why should I not taste it? Again, I'm so sorry, Vishnu, God, to put you on the spot. We had a nice birthday dinner yesterday for Darshan Krishna Prabhu here in Binsela. I'm sorry, we're in Feasterville. And Vishnu Godhead came, as he always does, he brings something. And yesterday we had Ekadasi pizza, and he comes and he makes it and he serves, and everyone's excited because he's serving. Everyone comes around the table and they want to serve. The mood of service was permeating our little program yesterday. And then somebody wants to serve the prasadam, and somebody wants to, it was just amazing. But it started with a senior Vaishnava demonstrating by his action the joy of service. I try my best to be in that mood as much as I can, not to walk in the room, oh, everyone should just bow down and respect me. Let me find some way I can serve the devotee. At least offer respects to devotees. As I said many times, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, when we asked him, Ganesham Prabhu, how can we become humble? He said, you offer obeisances 100 times a day to the devotees. That's also a nice service, bowing down and respecting devotees. Actually, if you observe it, generally nowadays, devotees don't do much of that. What to speak of 100 times a day? I mean, even 1 or 2 times a day. They see each other kind of like namaste, or, namaskar, fold their hands, blah, blah, blah. But offer obeisances out of respect and appreciation for your own benefit. It's not for their benefit, it's for your benefit or my benefit, to emphasize humility. I am the servant, because Lord Chaitanya wanted to taste the mood of a servant. Why should I not do it? If Lord Chaitanya himself, Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the first verse said, the reservoir of pleasure, he's Krishna, so he's the reservoir of pleasure, all pleasure he has. But that pleasure, he took a break, in a kind of a funny way, took a break from his position as Supreme Personality of Godhead to come and serve. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan before he came to America. Very humbly situated in Radha Damodar Temple, very beautiful situation. But he came to the West to increase the taste of service, because that's all he ever did. He served all of us. He served the world by demonstrating his commitment to bring Krishna consciousness at all costs, physical costs, mental costs, everything. He put it on the line to give us this Krishna consciousness movement, so we could learn the lesson of being the servant. And by serving those devotees who are free from all vice, we get more affinity for hearing the messages of Krishna. Then Krishna sees that we have that, and he does the cleansing of our heart. We think that we can cleanse our hearts. We think that we can do this. We think we can do that. No, Krishna does that for us. Ridyantaso subhadrani vidunoti sarisitam. Riddhi means in the heart. So Krishna cleanses within the heart. And in another way, te sam satata yuktanam bhajitam pritipurvakam dadaami buddhi yogam. I give you understanding. Why? How? Te sam satata yuktanam bhajitam pritipurvakam. Serving me with love. I give you the understanding. But we think, I will grab all this knowledge and just rush it in my brain and I'll be whatever. Though you may not get the understanding, you can get the knowledge. Because, we're accustomed to gathering knowledge in our educational pursuits, starting with our childhood. And some of us went to college and all those things, all the way up to PhD and all that. We know how to get knowledge. But to understand it, just like in Bhagavad Gita, what does it say? For the qualities of a Brahma, Samo, Dhammas, Tapal, Saucham, Shantam, Arjavam, Evacha, Jnana, Vijnana. Knowledge and knowledge by practical application. So if we apply what we've learned, we're hearing it today, and I'm sorry because I have to keep going to my iPad. I'm not in my home, so I don't have access to all my books. But if we apply what we're learning here today about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the mood of service, and Krishna himself, and it's saying in the first verse, purport, he is a reservoir of all pleasure. He nevertheless appears as the son of Mahārāja Nanda and Yashoda. He's a reservoir of pleasure. What is he doing? He's putting himself at the mercy of Nanda and Yashoda. And Lord Chaitanya, the self-same Lord Krishna, invented himself as Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all the eternal associates who are also equally glorious. So while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the end of the purport to text 10, while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to enjoy as a devotee, one should not disturb him by addressing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet one must, this is back further in the same purport, yet one must certainly know that although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, one should not misunderstand his pastimes and place him in exactly the same position as Krishna. It is for this reason only that when Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was addressed as Krishna or Vishnu, he blocked his ears, not wanting to hear himself addressed as Supreme Personality of Godhead. I mean, there's so many things here in this reading today. So I think I will stop there. Again, my main point is that as we make advancement in Krishna consciousness, we should be able to recognize when we are in the proper mood and not relish or lavish in the so-called respect of being a devotee. You will be respected as a devotee. If you know the philosophy, if you know how to speak, you know how to do kirtan, you know how to cook, so many things, you will receive respect. But how should you receive that respect? Well, think of Lord Chaitanya. When someone tried to place him in a high position, he wanted to be in the position of a servant. So we should always enjoy that position, because the word enjoy is there. Enjoy the position of being the servant. Don't strive to be the served. You will be served. It's guaranteed. Devotees will want to serve you and love you, but you and I, we should strive to be always in the mood of service and demonstrate it, not just by talking. You know, sometimes in Christianity, the guy will say, the minister will say, do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say. I can tell you all the philosophy, but I'm not doing it. So relishing the mood of service based on the fact that God himself wanted to relish that mood and showed us in his form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There was a verse, I have it somewhere, but like I said, I don't have all the books in front of me, but I'm a servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm a servant of Lord Chaitanya. Who knows that verse? There's a particular verse. I think it's, I had it somewhere, but I can't find it. But I'm a servant. It's Advaitacharya. There's a verse where Advaitacharya is saying that. And if any of you know that verse, please share it. But I'm a servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm a servant. So we can say, I'm a servant of Srila Prabhupada. And I'm a servant of the servants of Srila Prabhupada. And I'm a servant of the servants of the servants of Srila Prabhupada. Because the joy of service is the main point. Whether you're serving Prabhupada directly, Prabhupada's followers, you know, others in the line, but that joy, and even sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, why do we distribute prasadam? Why do we do that? It's a joy in doing that. I mean, it's like giving someone prasadam. That's a great joy in being able to do that. So we should really hone in on the joy. The enjoyment for a devotee is serving. It's not being glorified or being served. It's serving. Very, very important. So thank you for listening. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So hopefully you have some comments.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for very, very, very thought-provoking and wonderful lecture full of advice, especially stressing the fact that Srila Prabhupada better be very prominent in our lives if we want to be any kind of devotee with any substance at all. Not substance in terms of something high, but genuine. That's it. That's the word. Genuine devotees. Srila Prabhupada better be very, very, very primary in our lives. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, devotees, for coming. And also, this is the time to unmute yourself, to ask questions, make comments, and we will hopefully start with, not hopefully, but we'd like to start with wishing good afternoon if we have comments. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Śrī Prabhupada. Maybe he didn't hear me.
I think what it is, I was with him last night and he had to do something. He said, I will only be able to stay for about 20 minutes because I begged him to come to the class. I said, you have to come to class.
Okay,
He said, I can stay for about 20 minutes. He has to do something.
Yeah, I checked the participant list and he's not on. So
Yeah, he had to leave.
All right, so now the floor is open to anyone who wants to ask questions.
Or share some realizations about the topic. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll defer to Shane. Let's just Shane start first. And I'm still, yeah. She just finished.
I begged her to come to the class today too.
The other one.
It is only by your mercy that I'm able to juggle the ball. If I don't get mercy, I know I can't do it.
Thank you, Adi.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Shane, please go ahead. You start. I just had a comment. So you have a question? Unmute yourself.
Just Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please
Hare
accept my
Krishna.
humble obeisances. All glories to the Prabhupada. Thank you so much for a wonderful class. I just had some takeaways that I really enjoyed. Like, remember, we shouldn't enjoy being praised. We should just accept it and appreciate it and then move on.
Exactly.
And the other big one was finding the devotees who put Prabhupada first, how important that is in our service. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
No, thank you for reiterating. That's so important. Like, if someone says, you're such a this and that, you just fold your hand, thank you, Prabhu, and go on. No, I'm not this old. Just don't do that. Just thank you and go. And then Prabhupada first. I just recently did a song, and I think I mentioned to you, Parikshit, all I need is Prabhupada. And I'm not saying that in a, pushing back against anyone. All I need is Prabhupada. All we need, I didn't say all we, because I didn't want to put that on everybody. But me, all I need is Prabhupada. And that causes me to appreciate others. When I can understand Prabhupada, then I can appreciate others even more. Yeah. I can see who's serving, not just serving Srila Prabhupada, but just serving it in general. It's just beautiful. So thank you, Bhakti Shane. Very nice.
Thank you very much. That reminds me, I just remembered a point that was made by your God's sister, Mother Kalini.
Yes.
Every time he was asked about what happens, because he was, was getting up there in age, and then she was very sick too. And she kind of had the feeling that this was terminal for her. And from what I remember, the Buddhists had asked her about the next life, going back to Godhead. Everybody assumed she'd go back to Godhead, but she would never say that. She says, I'm going to Prabhupada. That's the only thing he ever said. I'm going to Prabhupada. He always mentioned you to Prabhupada, and that was it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it. They always talking about, so when you were talking about it, then it reminded me, so how important that is, the connection to the spiritual master. You also were saying we should serve and I forgot the exact word you used, so I'll paraphrase it because the idea is still there, that we should serve the devotees who are free from, not envy did you use?
Vice.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Could you please comment a little bit? How do we know a devotee that's free from vice? What are the characteristics? That's the typical Arjuna question was asking Krishna.
No, that's a beautiful question, because that's that verse that I was reading from the first canto, second chapter, verse 16. That series of verses, that verse, Chushu Shosha the Danasha, and then Shrimpatas Vakata Krishna, and then Nasapraisu Badresu. It goes in that sequence. So I thought about the same thing you just said. Twice born sages by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice. So we have to look at what are the vices: intoxication, sex, illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and on and on and on. And even in the mundane world, because Prabhupada uses words that we can relate to. Vice, Like there used to be, I don't know if they still have it, they have a vice squad in the police department.
Yeah, I remember.
So free from all vices. If we follow the four regular principles like Prabhupada gave us, then we're pretty much safe. Illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, what is it, meat eating. But there are other ones as well. So imagine that, completely free from all vice. One vice might be addiction to some material things, like, I don't know, a computer, your iPhone or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Is that a vice? Any type of attachment like that, material, mundane things, could be considered a vice. So when you find the devotee completely free from all vice, so then you look at Srila Prabhupada. The study begins with Prabhupada for all of us to understand any other aspect of a devotee, free from vice, all that, begins by fully, consciously, scrutinizingly studying the example of Srila Prabhupada. And we're so fortunate to have the Lila Amrita and memory books of different devotees, all the videos of memories of Prabhupada. And we can see how he demonstrated freedom from vice. Therefore, he was able to instill in all of us a desire for purity to make advancement, recognizing where we were. When I was fortunate to get initiation from Srila Prabhupada, and I looked at him, first of all, it was hard to look at him, very hard for me. I'm sitting there in Chicago, the old temple, in front of Kishore Kishori, some of the most beautiful deities in the world, and there's Prabhupada. And here's Bhakta Ben, not Balabhadra at that point. I'm still Bhakta Ben. Had only been in the movement from October till July. So Bhakta Ben had a lot of stuff still in here. And I'm looking at Prabhupada thinking, he sees all the stuff that I brought with me to Chicago, all of it. But still he gave me that mercy. So I'm just thinking about how wonderful that is. So Prabhupada knew we had devices. As we made advancement, we knew we had devices. But if we were sincere and attentive, devices were falling off one by one by one. And after some years, maybe for me, it's been 53 years, I'm still struggling with some attachments and all those kinds of things. But becoming free from all vice, serving such devotees. So there are devotees right now on the planet who are so sincere and so dedicated to this movement, to all of us, to Srila Prabhupada, that whatever little vices they may still have do not overshadow their spiritual position. So therefore, we should serve those devotees. I had no problem serving my godbrothers, especially Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and I can give you a whole list. So Damodar Maharaj, Brihadananda Maharaj, Jayapataka Maharaj, especially after Prabhupada left, because I had this thought in my mind that I didn't get a chance to serve Prabhupada directly much, except for holding his arm to help him off the stage in New Delhi. That was amazing. Or fanning him in Aligarh. I remember all those things, right? Or putting the garland on him. But not a lot of service. I never got a letter from him, nothing. But then I thought, but I have all my godbrothers. I have my godbrothers and god sisters. I can serve them. That was my meditation. That saved me during that transitional period, because I had no problem, because I was serving them before Prabhupada left. He trained us how to serve devotees. I remember meeting Vishnu Jan for the first time, Vishnu Jan Maharaj, and I served him. And then Rupanuga, even Kirtanananda when he came to Atlanta, serving my godbrothers, because I felt that was what Prabhupada wanted. And I made a lot of advancement. I'm being honest with you. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, another one. Because you know why? They blessed me. When they saw that I wanted to serve, they blessed me. I remember, this is a funny, quick story. I'll get back to you. I was at the airport with Brihadananda Maharaj, because in the beginning, he didn't have disciples in Atlanta. I had to take him to the airport. I had to cook for him. I had to do this, did that. So he saw me looking at him. Somehow or another, he detected that I wanted to do some service. So he said, go find out what time the plane is leaving. So I went and checked. He didn't need to know that, but he saw that I wanted to serve. He saw that I had the intelligence to know that service was important. So he blessed me. So all my godbrothers and god sisters, and even some of my second generation devotees, have blessed me with service opportunities. So even though I'm fallen, and even though they know I'm not perfect, okay, They give me that chance to serve. And I make advancement. And I know that they're not 100% perfect, but I take the opportunities for service. So to that point, Pariksha Prabhu, free from all vice. You may not find a devotee who's 100% free from all vice, but take notice of what their commitments are to Srila Prabhupada and to all of us. That's all we need at this point. Don't discriminate. Oh, this one's not free from all vice. That one's not free from all. I'm not going to serve them until they're free from all vice. No. I wouldn't do that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's very important. Thank you. I'm Sri, please go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances.
Accept my obeisance, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Of course, I joined, I think, the last half an hour because I had to finish up Chandramali Swami's class on the other side.
We were just talking about him yesterday, how he always dances, even though he's elderly.
Oh, I don't know how he
spinning.
does it. I don't know how he does it, Prabhu. He's like, it's just amazing.
Yes.
When you were speaking about, offering obeisances and the basic devotional practices of our Krishna consciousness, I remember, we were just returning from New Vrindavan's leadership management training by Anuttama Prabhu.
Yeah.
And I think it was Thursday morning that Malati Prabhu was giving class. And she was mentioning in her class, how important it is for us to follow and really imbibe that mood of the base of abiding on the basic devotional practices. For example, like in the old days, I remember anybody senior that walks into the room, your proper disciple is sannyasi, we offer obeisances.
Yes.
And even if they step out to go to the bathroom, I'm just using an example, and they come back, we offer again.
Yeah.
But nowadays, which I have also noticed, Prabhu, it's really sad that, when, say, Chandramali Swami comes into the temple room, you offer obeisances, he steps out, he comes with like, no, I've done my quota for the day. Kind of a thing, But I remember seeing, and I got this, Prabhu, from seeing two devotees doing that in Gitanagari. Mother Kalini was one of them, and Mother Indulekha, a senior disciple of Satsrup Maharaj.
Yeah.
And I used to see, and not only did she offer obeisances to Satsrup Maharaj, who was a spiritual master, but she would offer obeisances to any spiritual master. So from then on, it was already, taught to me that all gurus are one guru tattva.
Yeah.
And she would offer obeisances no matter how many times they come out and go in the temple room. Yeah. And I said, whoa, this is really humility. Like you have to keep offering obeisance. So I was really realizing how, Bhakti Chara Swami one time said that we really, really, really need to reflect and understand and study Srila Prabhupada's instructions and teachings.
Yes.
Because over a period of time, sometimes it gets watered down, it gets minimized, it gets diluted. Just on the simple, basic devotional practices, what to speak of the ones above all his instructions. Yeah. So Malati Prabhu was really stressing, and Malati Prabhu is a Prabhupada woman. She's like hardcore, and she was really drilling that in the Bhagavatam class Thursday morning in New Vrindavan. I thought I would share that. It was really powerful.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, Malati is a treasure.
Oh, yeah.
We have so many treasures left. I mean, we just lost one treasure, Charupa Gurma.
Yeah.
It was such a shock to me. Because I've been in touch with him for the last couple of years about music and this and that, and we just encouraging each other, and then all of a sudden, boom. So we have all these treasures. Malati, even quote unquote Jadurani, who's now Shamarani, all that. She's a treasure. I had the great fortune of her living with us in Atlanta. It was amazing, all the things I learned from her. And Gargamuni is still with us in Vrindavan. Gargamuni is Prabhupada's man. Every day he sends out something on Prabhupada. Pictures, this, that. Think about that.
Shamsundar is still with us. Shamsundar Prabhu is still with us.
The whole list goes on.
Mukunda Maharaj just celebrated, I just saw online, it's 84th or 87th or something.
Yeah.
It was like, And he's so sharp and alert. You know, he was sharing a funny pastime of Prabhupada. And, you know, something with, oh my God, now I got to think about it. But it was like so amazing. And he's walking around with a walker.
There's no way.
And you see,
Yeah, but there's
completely,
no impediment, no matter what it is.
completely none. Like even when we were in New Vrindavan Prabhu, I was like many of us, all of us were just amazed by Anuttama Prabhu because he was the only one teaching that class.
Mhm.
And he's in his early 70s, I think he's 72 or 73.
Yeah.
7 hours on his feet for 4 days.
Mm.
I'm thinking, and he kept the pace, the smile, the enthusiasm. And we were like, will we be that way when we, at least that was what's happening to my mind. I said, will I have that same energy when I turn 70? Oh my God, I'm so scared because he was on his feet 7, 8 hours straight with such enthusiasm. So
That's
it's
beautiful.
amazing, bro. We have so many gems and treasures. We just need to, at least I can speak for myself, you know, I just need to really beg for the drop of the mercy from every proper disciple to see whatever strength you have, give me just a drop of a mustard seed, please.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they're still engaged, in some cases, like Sasut Maharaj, from 1966,
Yes.
even 65 till now. This next year, we're celebrating ISKCON's 60th anniversary of the
Next year is the 50th.
No, the
this year,
incorporation.
this year is a 60th.
This year is incorporated. Yeah.
Yes,
this is
this year.
This is 26. So 1966, 60 years. Some of these devotees have been there since then. I mean, it's amazing. And we still have them, Mukunda Maharaj, and on and on and on. So I just want to share one thing that I'm but I'm listening to this app that Vishnu Gadar recommended. I immediately bought it up. It's called Transcend. Most of you may have heard of Transcend. It's a BBT app, okay? Has all of Prabhupada's books, has all of Prabhupada's lectures. It's incredible. And whoever's reading it, they've captured my heart because the way they read is beautiful. So I just finished listening to the entire teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Every day I listen. And the app is so good that wherever you stop, it picks it up immediately wherever you stopped at. So the last part of Chaitanya Charitamrita is so fast. I'm sorry, teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Because Lord Chaitanya is speaking with Ramananda Roy, you know, the famous dialogue. But right after that, it says, one of the things it says, Sriman Ramananda Roy came again to see the Lord the next evening, and there were further discourses on the transcendental subject matter. So Lord Chaitanya is asking Ramananda Roy, what is the highest standard of education? Ramananda Roy replies, he says that the highest standard of education is knowledge of the science of Krishna. So several questions, but this one is really fascinating. When Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Roy, what is considered to be the most painful existence? Ramananda Roy replied, that separation from a pure devotee constitutes the most painful existence. In other words, when there is no devotee of the Lord present, there's great suffering in society. And association with other people becomes painful. That just was too much. It rocked my boat. Because I think, like, for instance, Srila Prabhupada's God brothers, whatever we or us might think of them, I always felt some comfort in my heart knowing that there was somebody on the planet that was with Prabhupada, God brother. It was just a comfort feeling I had. I remember once in Mayapur, we went on Parikram, we were doing, you know, how we do our kirtan, and somehow or another, like Gaudiya Math would do their kirtan, and then they would leave and we would come. But this time, we came together. And I'm standing there with Hridaya Nandamaj, and Gaudiya Math and ISKCON went nuts doing kirtan together. Oh my God, with the big whompers, and that was incredible. There's not a single Prabhupada disciple on the planet. I'm sorry, Prabhupada God brother or God sister on the planet. I feel it. And I'm hoping that the devotees now, quote unquote, second generation devotees, understand how important it is to have some Prabhupada disciples still here. I mean, we may think ourselves to be powerful. Sure, we're to a certain degree powerful. But these men and women have demonstrated 60 plus years of dedication. You can't, the only question you can ask them is, how did you do it? I know you've been through ups and downs. I know you've been on the ISKCON radar, blah, 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 but you still have faith in Prabhupada. How did you do that for 60 years? Unbelievable. So that statement here, Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda, Lord Chaitanya wanted this to be said. And Ramananda replied, that separation from a pure devotee constitutes the most painful existence. In other words, when there is no devotee, the Lord present, there is great suffering in society. And association with other people becomes painful. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. I've been hanging on to it to share with somebody. It's just so powerful.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing. It's our privilege. Any final questions or comments? If not, then thank you, Prabhu, for coming on. It's always inspiring to hear your lectures. Where's an announcement? Today, we're continuing Śrīla Prabhupada Lilamrita reading. It starts at 7. You check the WhatsApp for ISKCON Harrisburg. The log-on information for Zoom will be there. So please join us the evening right at 7. We read. It's only a half hour, but so much nectar. We get to understand who Śrīla Prabhupada is little by little through the Lilamrita. Yes. Thank you again for Jai.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Vanchakalpa, Mr. Kripa,
Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavibhyo. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day and week.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribo, nice to see you. Haribo.
You too, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Say hello to the girls for me.
I will, definitely.
I have to stop saying girls, the ladies.
Prabhu, they remind me half the time. So yes, I remember.